Hello, everyone. This talk really is for the judges and for the attorneys and for the legal assistants and who staff in the courts. Um, this is called a mother's plea to family law judges, attorneys, and such, because I think that sometimes you all are so burdened by the amount of work to do, the amount of clients and research and the frustration, and especially during these times through the pandemic of rescheduling and Zooms and such. But I found myself in many years, my final divorce was in 1997. So we had no internet, no support groups, no understanding of parental alienation. And that is what has really happened to me. And here I am years down the road, like over 20 years, almost 25 years down the road. And I want to be able to express some of the things that happen by rulings that you might not know or understand. And I want you to give pause because I'm seeing, and I didn't understand then, and maybe things were different then, that the system is so different than other areas of law, and that the system, I'm sorry, it's broken. Our children are in trouble and in peril, and they are the collateral damage of rulings and situations in the courts. And you might not like what I'm going to tell you. And so I hope that you have an open mind, understanding the effects on our lives of going through the process and some scenarios that might happen. Because now I've entrenched myself in helping some causes with high conflict divorce and parental alienation. My former husband and I had mutually decided to get a divorce. Now, this person was very controlling. Now, terms of narcissism are being used, and I'm sure that he falls in that category. And so I really didn't understand what I was dealing with. But I did understand is that I stayed 10 years too long and afraid to get away from this man. And so coming into the courts, I was a very emotional person. I saw what he was doing to my two daughters already. And there weren't many names for it, but I did hear about Dr. Gardner's book and parental alienation. You may not want to hear about this. You may be closed minded. Please listen till the end. I have respect for everyone that is trying to work within our system now with such high divorce and separation issues. But I'm here to tell you that our children are being hurt, they are self-harming, and they are dying. And that is why I'm speaking out, because now I am a wise woman. I'm living in the perils of rulings, and I want to bring forth some of the things that happened to me. And I went through three attorneys with three different approaches. I certainly wish I knew now what I knew then, but I want to share with you something that's very, very important, because as I work with other parents and especially women, I realize that we are really at a detriment because there are very few people understanding parental alienation or the early cues. And my background is early childhood education. And I had a daughter who was very conflicted. I cannot imagine what it is like now with so many autistic and ADHD children. My daughter was a beautiful and brilliant, extremely intelligent, beautiful, an intelligent child, but she was a conflicted child. And I kept trying to find out what was going on with her from a toddler. And I was working with a man who was a PhD in the higher education field that wasn't having it. And I could see that behavior patterns weren't correct. So I want to implore upon you, because I hear this time and again from people I'm trying to help, is that they ask up front, are you familiar with parental alienation? And attorneys and therapists often say yes. This is a completely different paradigm. There are so few experts in this field. And when you say yes to this, you need to really be educated and understand, because it doesn't follow the same patterns. What you need to do to present your case is entirely different. And we don't know that. That was my first time with an attorney. I thought, I've got someone that can help me. I had to find someone I could trust. And I had to, with having so much distrust in my marriage, and maybe even family members and other people not knowing what was really going on. And let's face it, people don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I had to trust, I had to believe. I didn't know the law, but representing something that you know nothing about only damages and makes the case worse, because it's counterintuitive. It's very different working in this space, and you must truly understand it. So if you're a bankruptcy attorney and um, a real estate attorney, and then you're thrown into this area, or you're saying that you can represent all of these things, I'm telling you, please don't do that to us. Please don't. It's a death sentence. It really is. And to judges, I know you get switched around from different things. And I saw when I had a new judge and a woman, I was so excited. She stated, I'm all about the children. And I thought, maybe she will see what's going on here. And I could see after a few months, she was exhausted from what you have to hear, the hate, maybe. Our system is an adversarial system, and attorneys want to win, and judges have to rule. And so everyone is pitting against each other. And so what is the collateral damage of that? Our families and our children. And I'm bringing this to you in a very specific way, and I will share that in a few minutes. You know, I didn't know. I thought everyone's there for my best interest. And I was very emotional, and I have to, address that. I'm sure it must be very difficult having very emotional clients, and money is a huge factor, and you all cannot deny that. I'm sorry. Money is a driving factor, and competition in the field, and your reputation. And so that may be trite to you, but I realize now how much time I wasted with my attorney and how ineffective I might have been in the courtroom because I was emotionally dysregulated. And right now, in dealing with trauma and complex PTSD from being emotionally abused for over 20 years. Now, think of your clients today. And in the courtroom, judges, think of people coming forth today with living through pandemic situations, family thrust in with their children all of the time. Maybe if you, I understand that 40% of children are born out of wedlock now. So you're trying to deal with separation of not even a legal family unit, however that looks like. And so through the pandemic, maybe one person used that to have more custody of the other child. And now we have this whole global war situation. Our nervous systems are dysregulated. If you are caring about your client, please suggest to them to get help. I'm putting something together with very simple things because I know when I was in my case, I was seeing a therapist, but then to bring all that up while you're trying to prove your case is very, very difficult. If your client is regulated, they're going to show up better in court. They're going to remember details and facts, and remember what instructions you gave them to do. You will have a better and easier caseload if you have clients that are regulating their nervous system. When we are working in this space, we are in fight or flight mode. A switch is turned on in our body, which says, run from the lions, run from the tiger. And going through divorce, and I know for me, the trauma of the rulings were just, you've got to be kidding me. Why don't they see what's really happening? And they did. They did after my daughter took her life. Then they saw what was really happening. That's what I'm here to tell you. The collateral damage, it's high, it's big, it's expensive. People have had to declare bankruptcy. They've lost all their life savings fighting for their children. So your rulings may be trite, but I have found in this space that one small thing, and as I talk to people, oh my gosh, we made a mistake here. And many things are not big mistakes, but that caused a trajectory for a perpetrator to use and for the judges not to recognize. I just heard of a man fighting in the South Florida area. This is like years, and he brought in one of the top experts, flew him in from California that understands parental alienation, and the judge would not allow that person to be an expert witness because he wasn't from Florida. The despair, the hopelessness, because every single day that goes by, and right now I'm seeing the trajectory of hearings and court cases are pushed back months. That child is being radicalized. This is like a cult mentality, and it happens very quickly. And even with my expertise, I thought, oh my gosh, this is my child reacting to separation, to their own grief of a family separating and such. I didn't know the signs, and I didn't see until a few months later how my children were being manipulated. I saw it already before we were separated, how this was being used, because that kind of personality has to have every asset for themselves. And please stop treating our children as an asset. In other countries, the financial and other parts of a divorce are treated differently, but the parents are still equal. We are both parents. And I understand that you do get put in a spot of not being able to identify if someone is being abused, but the kind of abuse of this is subtle, and they appear very coherent and charismatic, and you might not see what's going on. Please, I implore on you, just be open. I saw that our divorce, as I said, then turned into a high conflict divorce. My case is being used to teach mediators what not to do. My daughter was court ordered for counseling. My former husband kept blocking it. I kept bringing it in for contempt. Nothing was happening. So I didn't understand that here we take all this money and time to come to a legal document, a contract. I thought it was a binding contract. I didn't know that it's not necessarily enforced, and there's not really a mechanism for someone. I would never have spent all that money, that time tweaking things for something that both of us could be both parenting and come out the least scathed from what we built over 20 years, starting from nothing with my children. This man took my refrigerator, every knife, spoon, and fork in my house, and I had the children. As bringing them back to not being able to get help for my children, this man was blocking her from getting help. This is what I have today. My daughter at 15 took her life in her father's home while he was home. And now, 19 years later, I find out that he knew she wanted to do this. This is what we're looking at here, folks. These are people's lives. She had written on a mirror in his house that she wanted to take her life, and someone saw it, but he tried to erase it, erase the evidence, and never reached out, even with this child being court ordered for counseling, telling her there's nothing wrong with her. Your mother thinks you're crazy. That's what we're dealing. Please help us. Please don't get hardened and craps, because our lives are in your state. By having this kind of separation, whole family units are separated. So my goddaughter is on the other side, on his side of the family. She has 3 children I have never met. It separates whole families. My other daughter is now 37, and I have a grandson. I was there when he was born, but she is already divorced. I didn't know they were even separated. Also, The pattern here is that now all of a sudden I'm estranged from my grandson and my granddaughter. I have no idea why. I was there taking care of him for 3 years. And as she got divorced, I believe personally that she's back under her father's influence. These rulings are passed down because then these children see this as patterns. And I don't know if she's doing that to um, my former son-in-law, but it really worries me. I understand that there's a lot of camaraderie between attorneys and judges, or there's misconceptions of judges to attorneys. So they already have a judgment on that particular. Please make us aware of some of those. I know we're your case, you want to make money, but our lives are in your hands. I am hearing stories now of children at 12 years old wanting to take their lives. I truly believe that my daughter Erin took her life because of this conflict. She was already conflicted and she was brilliant. And teenage years aren't easy. And he blew her off as, it's teenagers. Other people tried to warn him as well. And I had no jurisdiction in right. Or you might hear the child say, oh, I don't want to talk to my mother, because they're brainwashed and they're trained and they're also afraid to speak out. Please learn about this behavior pattern, and prepare us. If we're more emotionally regulated, prepare us for what we can expect and not have unrealistic expectations, because I didn't understand the paradigms of the law, or you can only present this, you can only present that. This past weekend, I was a featured speaker in Jacksonville, and some different parents came up from different areas. And the stories I heard, the evidence not being able to be permitted. And I've watched the downhill spiral of children as I've been in support groups with other mothers. It happens fast and the children get disoriented. They don't know who to believe. They're in this conflict. Their grades go down, they drop out, and you see even the worst case scenario. Other parents are killed when the ruling can come out. A sibling has killed a parent because they were brainwashed in a particular way. This is some of the fallout. So please, I know it's got to be so difficult to hear the horror stories that you must hear, but please know that this Mother's Day, I am missing my daughter once again. And now I have another daughter and a grandson that I will not see on this day. There are so many mothers hurting out there. And I see so many rulings that actually could have prevented this. So please care about us. This is a mother's plea to the judges and the court system in the family law arena. Please don't make it worse. So many families come in and they're not even in a bad space, and everything is churned up one against the other. This is the price that we pay. So please, this Mother's Day, think about us. Think about our lost children, our hurting children. And that is my mission of awareness, is to save our children. Thank you.